When it comes to bless this mess, one very important word comes to mind, and that is perspective. Depending on the perspective to which I was viewing this show, depends on how I feel about it. It's funny because I did not know it existed. I didn't know it came out in 2019 or that it got canceled in 2020. But with my paying gig putting me all over the map, first shift, second shift, third shift, all over the place, weekends, all of it, my wife was like, she was perusing the Hulu and found Bless This Mess. I come home one night late and she says, I hope you like this show I found. I thought it was funny. I see Dax Shepard and I'm like, hey, I'm a fan. So after that open rolls, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to talk about perspective and my feelings on Bless This Mess. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. If you could, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, enjoy. Dax Shepard is a bona fide hit when it comes to me. One of my favorite comedies is Hit and Run, starring Dax Shepard and Bradley Cooper. I also thoroughly enjoyed him replacing Danny Masterson in The Ranch, which is weird because, generally speaking, when it comes to replacing characters with people that seem to be replacements, it's bothersome to me. Much like when they replaced Eric Foreman in his own show, That 70s Show, or primarily his show. But the thing is that Bless This Mess, it wasn't a replacement, it wasn't a change-up, it wasn't anything like that. This is its own beast. Lake Bell, she helped produce the show, or she was an executive producer and also the co-star. Like I said before the open roll, I didn't know that this show ever happened in 2019, and I certainly didn't know it was canceled in 2020. But when my wife found it and we watched the 2 seasons, I don't know, over a few weeks span, it's crazy because when we were having good times, when we were on the highest of highs, the show was quite enjoyable. But but when things go badly in our lives, when the positives turn into negatives, it really affected the enjoyment of the show. And it's crazy that, well, the show was not strong enough to help us overcome real life loss. And I guess that's one of the things that I struggle with when it comes to comedy in general, because that's one of the reasons why she was like, oh, I hope you like this show, because I tend to find comedies challenging, and by that I mean some things people find funny I just think are pointless or unnecessary. But when it came to Bless This Mess, I often found the characters engaging and amusing, and in some cases, almost relatable. Now, I've never lived in this particular part of the middle of nowhere, Bucksnort, but I've lived in my own personal, or not personal, but my own versions of the middle of nowhere multiple times over, whether it be in Ohio or Kentucky. And so with that, it's easier to find the characters relatable when it comes to your prize chicken or your oddball goat best friend type thing. Because I had a goat best friend. You'd pet her, she'd use her neck to pet you back. So these things can be relatable when you are from the style of place that these characters are living in. Now, I've never lived in New York, which is where Dax Shepard and Lake Bell's characters came from before they moved to Bucksnort. But, I have lived in California and Hawaii, so again, it's fairly easy to see these characters' perspective going from big time city to small town Nowheresville. And with the ability to feel for them both ways, actually, big city and small town, it just makes for a fun time. And so long as your life is not going through hard times or the rough patch, the pain, I thoroughly recommend watching Bless This Mess. So if we're using the watch don't watch metric or grading system, for sure I think that it's worth watching because, like I said before, when it comes to Dax Shepard, I think that he is entertaining, and he delivers when it comes to comedy because there are so many properties. Even when he was doing a game show with his wife, I forget what it was called, but I'll look it up and pop the picture up. But him and Kristen Bell were doing a not quite Double Dare or Family Feud, but a pseudo Double Dare Family Feud type show, and even that I thought was enjoyable because of their camaraderie and his specifically delivery. Because I think that the cast of this show, like a guy who plays a professor in Young Sheldon in Bless This Mess, plays the offbeat guy who's best friends with a goat, and he on again off again dates the sheriff, but it just shows his range. And the neighbor, like the neighbors to Lake Bell and Dax Shepard, their son is not exactly what you would call intelligent, and they're fully aware, but they love him and they treat him good, and it's good quality fun. The idea of nobody being able to keep their mouth shut, so anytime something's going on, it's the words getting around, and just like every game of telephone, it's not very reliable. But yeah, so take my word for it and check out Bless This Mess. It goes by quick. It ended too soon, but a lot of things went that way or had other weird times when it came to lockdown. And so, thank you for tuning in. Come back all next week for fun content from Mr. Super Oz.